The next item is an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Greeley involving an installation of synthetic turf fields. Coordinator of Schools Bob Billings, Director of Support Services Brad Johnson, and City of Greeley Director Andy McRoberts. Welcome all. This is an action item, so I will receive a motion at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Greeley regarding the installation of synthetic turf fields as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Gentlemen, welcome, Bob. Well, thank you.
President DeWitt, Superintendent Eads, members of the board, thank you as always for the opportunity to come and talk about doing things for, in this case, both our students and the community. This first part, number 3, I'm really going to defer much to Andy McRoberts from the City of Greeley, Director of Parks, Culture, and Recreation, and Executive Director of Support Services, Brad Johnson, because they're the experts on the intergovernmental agreement, and then you'll have to listen to me talk about synthetic turf a little bit. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Brad and then Andy.
Good evening.
Welcome.
This is a great opportunity for us to once again work with the City of Greeley in an agreement that shares our stadium and our soccer field. Both fields are way underutilized because of the condition of the grass that is existing there now. So with the agreement with the City of Greeley that is coming up for your approval, this is an opportunity for us to get the right tools to do the right job on a right type of turf. And we're going to get the training, we're going to be able to get the equipment, and we have worked with the City of Greeley for years in our joint use agreements, and working with Mr. McRoberts and the City of Greeley. It's great. It's great. No complaints ever. Anytime we've ever had any concerns whatsoever, we've always just picked up the phone, called each other, and magic, it works. So this is a great opportunity for us to get some real serious usage out of our stadium because of the hard work these two gentlemen have really put in for this. And I'll turn it over to Andy here.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, President DeWitt and Superintendent Eads and the rest of the board. Really appreciate your time this evening. This is a fruition of a collaboration that we've been working on for a while, this past almost 12 months, working on a collaborative effort to try to provide more amenities for our kids in the community, particularly for youth sports. As you're all aware, we've been developing and working with and collaborating on a middle school sports program for the last 3 years. It's still evolving. We think it's very successful. We love the process that it's been going through. In fact, we're going to be adding a soccer program this spring, so adding to our plethora of sports that we're already offering. Football, for example, we had over 250 kids from 6 different schools participate in the middle school sports program this last fall. As Brad mentioned, there is limited opportunity for them to play on, the big field, on the big stadium, to go to the big show. So this really provides a great opportunity to let those kids experience playing at the District 6 stadium. Maybe not under the lights necessarily, but certainly in the stadium atmosphere. We think that that's a great exposure for them to play at that capacity, and then to be able to grow and hopefully take their talents to the next level and work into the high school program as well. So we work with the kids all the way from the Young America football program now through middle school, and we hope that that is fruition to the high school programs as well. It's really been a wonderful partnership. That's really the only way I can say it. Working with Brad and Bob and Mandy back there, and trying to put together all of the nuts and bolts, if you will, to protect the interests of both parties, both the city and the school district. We have to do that. That's what the IGA in front of you is for this evening. The bottom line is it's for the kids, but we have to do our due diligence and do the little legal thing. So that's what you have before you this evening. Our city council has already approved the intergovernmental agreement back in December. And so you have the full blessing of the city council representing through me this evening. And so we are here to answer your questions about you might have with the IGA itself. This also stipulates in the IGA that we will come up with a new joint use agreement by July of this year. It's been in place since, it's been a while. And it hasn't really been, I mean, it's been updated annually, but we really need to kind of start fresh and present a new joint use agreement. And so we'll bring that forth back to City Council and to the school board before July or by July. And that's all I've got to add, but I really appreciate your partnership with the city and the city's partnership with you all and what's best for the kids. It's been really our pleasure to work with all of you.
Thank you very much, Andy. Appreciate it. Mr. Hafley.
First, I'd like to thank all three of you for your efforts on this. This is outstanding. Maybe you're going to talk about it, Mr. Billings, in the next portion of the agenda, so I apologize. Currently, what type of usage do we have on our grass fields? And then I know that you're a visionary kind of guy. What is the proposed number of events that will occur once we have the AstroTurf in place?
So currently, with our current guidelines as far as the football stadium goes, we're limited by policy to 25 events per school year. And generally speaking, we have 15 home football events just for our high schools, depending on if they have balanced or unbalanced schedules. So there's 15 right there. We play our middle school extravaganza, so that's 16. We have a band event out there, that's 17. We have numerous track meets. And so those 25 events evaporate rapidly. And in our past, we've actually had to exclude some potential rental and usage of the facility because of the wear and tear that it takes. We often, towards the end of the season, particularly on the football field, got comments from officials that it's getting pretty tired, and that's something that this project will change dramatically for us. Our soccer fields get utilized a lot of wear and tear, and it's really nice in the fall, and boys soccer has it pretty good in the spring. Because of our climate, the growing season doesn't allow it to repair itself, even with the efforts of Brad's staff, who do everything they can to make that happen. So one of the great things with all of this is you're going to have a uniform playing surface, whether it's April, May, June, July, or the middle of December. And it's very exciting. And it will allow us many opportunities in collaboration with the city, as well as an untapped potential for outside entities to use the facility and take advantage of that. And maybe we'll make a little money somehow through some of that usage. So it's the sky's the limit, and we look forward to doing everything we can to really, really utilize this great collaboration in our community.
Thank you. Ms. Solis?
I want to reiterate, thank you guys for being so diligent with us and keeping at it. And, you know, one of the wonderful things is, you know, the kiddos that may not have been able to play in certain sports are now able to play, and that's because of you guys. So thank you very much for that. This is an exciting process, and I think, you know, this is just the beginning. And so bringing this forward now and at this time, it's just an exciting time to be on the board, and I'm glad that we're all working together.
Mr. Hall?
I want to say thanks also to all three of you, and I want to apologize for Brad for confusing him earlier with a different friend of mine. Bob, so the policy was just for wear and tear on the existing field, the 25 events. So this will be a facility that we'll be able to use whenever, I mean, if we could do 50 or 60, it'd be fine, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. That's what I wanted to say.
Mr. Eads?
Well, just mentioning the intergovernmental agreement and really the joint use agreement, I believe the first one we negotiated was 1997. You can check on that, but I believe that's the time. But ever since then, we've always pursued the idea of rough equivalence so that neither party is unfairly advantaged. So there's been a lot of give and take over the years as we figured out what that means. But I think we all agree that when taxpayer paid for facilities are in use at their maximum rate, excuse me, that's best for everybody.
Yep.
So this really does expand it, and I think the concept of rough equivalence will be there. You know, it's not perfect balance because there are different needs and different facility capabilities, but the city's been a willing partner in keeping things balanced. So I'm very confident if you read this, you can see that if they turn on the lights, they have to pay the demand fee, and we notice that demand fee the first month we turn on the lights, and if it's one of our events, we pay for that. So I think rough equivalence is here, and I think it will be in the joint use agreement that we'll negotiate by July and bring back to you for approval at that time. So.
Thank you. Mr. Lydia?
So again, it's a wonderful opportunity, but I just want to ask and reiterate, are you also saying that like this is potentially going to provide better safety and playing environment as well as maybe a lower total cost of ownership?
So because you asked the question, I'll just jump into that at this point. So we did a ton of research between Andy and his staff, Brad and his staff. We contacted people from across the country. And the more we learned, the more we were confident that the company FieldTurf was the right company to go with. In all of the background information, Mandy's office, Scott Francis in purchasing, were just cold calling people that we knew had their product and asking them, how did it go? And not once did we get a negative reference. And one of the things about FieldTurf is that distinguish them for us from other vendors is that they're really a sole source company. They make the fiber in the turf, they create the infill for the turf, the backing, they do the construction, they warranty the product, they service the product, they teach us how to take care of it. I mean, it's one-stop shopping. And we heard horror stories from other references about using an installation company and they installed a product and then there were warranty issues and the installers blamed the product and the product manufacturer blamed the installers, and at the end of the day it was a mess. And so clearly one of the things that stood true for FieldTurf is their full service and follow through on that service to make sure that we have a great product and we get what we're paying for. Specifically to safety, FieldTurf has invested a tremendous amount of money for independent research projects to measure their turf against natural grass, because that's the natural comparison. And if you're interested, I can connect you with piles of paper or links and what have you, because it's very compelling and it's very interesting. What we know is from these studies that the product that we're moving forward with, we believe is the best synthetic turf product that you can currently purchase. And largely because of the technology in that product, it is very similar to natural grass. And so the research shows, depending on the study, that injury rates are slightly higher for short-term injuries, scrapes, those kinds of things, what's termed as 0 days lost in the activity. And when you go up to 22 days lost because of an injury, FieldTurf outperforms natural grass in the incidence and occurrence of those kind of injuries. That was done with many high schools in the state of Texas. There's another study that was in Division I football where it shows that FieldTurf actually is safer than natural grass. And so obviously there's lots of variables, but we, based on the research.
Thinking natural grass, natural torn up, what did you say, heavily used, or what did that?
Heavily used, overused, tired is
that's
the.
what you said.
Yes, yeah. It's kind of like my dad wouldn't let us play in the backyard because it ruined the grass and it had to be just perfect. And so we had to go somewhere else to play in the neighborhood because he wasn't good with that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Richardson.
I was going to say, I appreciate, this is a good example of the city reaching out and the district, our staff being compatible, and just like to say thank you to Andy and the city for partnering with us, and our staff for being part of the partnership and being part of a good partnership that is a win for our community and our kids. And I think it's a great thing. We're serving the same students. The funny thing is we're serving the same kids, so us getting on the same team is providing more resources more efficiently, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
And if I could just add a couple things, and that way you won't have to listen to me very much because we were able to get this taken care of and answer your questions. But we really need to recognize Roy Otto as the city manager, because this was as will ring true for a lot of us, everyone has a story. And this has a personal story for me a little bit. And I was a little nervous to come talk to you tonight because of this. Because part of this whole project started with a conversation with John Batolo, Amy Szyminski, myself, and Bob Perry before I had started to come back to this job. And I was asked, what are your goals? And I said, I have two things that are important to me. We have to stop figuring out ways to not get things done in Greeley, because instead of figuring out how to do things, we find excuses sometimes why not to do them. And the second thing was, I said, I don't know how, what way, what method, where the money will come from, but we got to improve our district stadium because we have a great stadium, and somehow we got to figure out how to put artificial turf on it. When I was told by Roy that the funding was going to be there, I mean, he brought tears to my eyes, because I never thought in a million years that this would really happen. So it just again shows the power of collaboration and what happens when we work together and find ways to get things done instead of making excuses not to do them.
Absolutely.
And so I just think it's important that both Roy, the mayor, the city council, because this money is our taxpayers' money, and it's the community that's doing this, and we really need to make sure that that is front and center to all of this, because without the community, it wouldn't be happening.
Thank you. Mr. Hall.
Quick question, Bob. What's the proposed lifespan of the turf?
Yeah, so, and you did get three different
Okay.
drawings, generally about 10 years.
Okay.
But there are places that get more than that, places that get less than that. It depends. One of the great things in our whole package is we have all the equipment and we'll get all the training, because maintenance is important.
Mm-hmm.
There is somewhat of a misnomer that you just lay it down and just let it lay there. That's just not the case. But through our research, it was very apparent that there were certain things that we needed to have as part of our project, and the city supported that and understand that we will maintain it to get the greatest lifespan out of the turf that we can.
And that answered, I think, my second question is, I know that it takes specialized equipment to take care of this and to work with it and go from there. And my question was, what do we need to be thinking about so that you have all the tools, so that Brad has all the equipment that he needs to maintain this godsend for our kids?
Yeah, and I think, and I want to introduce Jed Easterbrook, who is the Western Regional representative for FieldTurf, and one of the things that was clear when we started working with Jed is that they are committed to training us and making sure we don't mess something up. because if we mess something up, they're going to be the ones to come out and have to try to fix it for us. And their commitment is very evident. So with Brad's staff, Andy's staff, we're going to be on top of it because we know it's important.